This is TWiT.
Recode reports that Apple has scheduled a big media event for Tuesday, September 9th, and notes that, like Apple's September events in previous years, it will focus on Apple's next-gen iPhones. Those are pretty widely expected to feature larger displays, possibly at 4.7 and 5.5 inches, and run new A8 processors. For what it's worth, Apple has declined comment. The company is, though, talking about its App Store numbers. Apple tells CNBC that its App Store saw record-setting revenue numbers in July, and that its App Store saw a record number of customers making transactions that month. CEO Tim Cook tells the news outlet, quote, "I couldn't be happier. This is the best execution of any quarter since I've been at Apple." The New York Times reports that a Russian crime ring has collected the largest known amount of stolen internet credentials, which includes 1.2 billion username and password combinations and more than 500 million email addresses. Hold Security, which is a firm based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that uncovered the theft last year of tens of millions of records from Adobe systems, says that the current stolen information includes confidential material gathered from 420,000 websites. Hold Securities isn't naming the victims, but an unaffiliated security expert tells The Times that the theft is authentic. It appears that so far the criminals haven't sold many of these records, are using them instead to send spam on social networks and then collecting fees for that work. But personal credentials, like an email address or a social security number or a password, can obviously be used for identity theft at a later time. In other frightening security news, Joshua Rogers, a 17-year-old Australian security researcher, says that PayPal's two-factor authentication can be circumvented and has published the details on his blog. Now, he says he alerted PayPal back on June 5th, but the company didn't fix the issue, so he went public. Now, by going public, Rogers forfeits a reward that PayPal usually pays out to security researchers that requires confidentiality until a vulnerability is fixed. Rogers thinks that the reward might have been around $3,000. Didn't get a specific number from PayPal, though, and says he doesn't even care about the money. He also posted a video of the attack on YouTube. Last month, Rogers accepted a caution from Australian police rather than face charges for discovering a vulnerability in the website of one of the country's public transport authorities last year. A new report from analyst firm Strategy Analytics says that Google's Android OS global market share is at a whopping 85%. 85% global share. But it also notes that much of that market share is based on the Android Open Source Project, or AOSP, a freer version that lets device makers customize handsets to run other software and services and de-emphasize Google, also known as forking Android. A new report from ABI Research says that 20% of the smartphones that shipped worldwide between May and July of this year were based on AOSP, and that number is rising, a 20% increase on the previous quarter. Now, Google's new standard, Android One, has its services baked in and will potentially help the company get its foot back into potential revenues with sub-$100 smartphones in developing markets. Fox announced today that it has withdrawn its $80 billion bid for Time Warner Cable. In a statement, CEO Rupert Murdoch claims that Time Warner CEO Jeff Bewkes would not sit down and negotiate with him. Murdoch says that with the saved money, he plans to buy back $6 billion of Fox's stock. Time Warner's and Fox's earnings calls are both scheduled for tomorrow. Reuters has acquired an internal memo sent to BlackBerry employees that the company has finished a restructuring process. BlackBerry CEO John Chen writes that, quote, "Barring any unexpected downturns in the market, we will be adding headcount in certain areas such as product development, sales, and customer service, beginning in modest numbers." BlackBerry shrank its workforce around 60% over the last 3 years. Chen took over 8 months ago and has attempted to stabilize the company by selling non-core assets, partnering to make manufacturing and supply chains more efficient, and raising cash via sales of the company's real estate holdings in its hometown of Waterloo, Ontario, Canada.